both sides of the conversation, family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Welcome everyone to Both Sides of the Conversation Live. We meet here virtually every Sunday at 2 p.m. I am your co-host, Brittany Doyle, and I would like to introduce you to our executive director and the host of this show, John Henry.
Welcome everybody to our Sunday conversation. I'm John Henry, excited to be here. We have a phenomenal Sunday conversation. We are in space celebrating, honoring the 55th anniversary of our Black Panther Party. Our legacy keepers are here. Phenomenal folks. So looking forward to getting into today's conversation. But first, before we get started, I want to go over a couple of the announcements. Y'all know every show we got to get our announcements out. They're getting longer and longer, okay? The more the community believes in the work that we're doing, the more they are submitting their events and the information to our platform to get out to our people. And we are so proud of our community working together, trying to get this information out to the community so that we can impact our community. But with that being said, first I want to give a huge shout out to some of the events that I was at this weekend. Shout out to the East Oakland Collective for the work that they're doing with the councilman, Loren Taylor. We was out at Ayoyo Park is what they call it in Oakland for the cleanup. We was out there with them this weekend, cleaning up the space. We got a tour of the rec center over there and some of the amazing things that they have going on inside of there. So I want to give a huge shout out to the Kingmakers of Oakland. Okay, they had our young man in the classroom this Saturday teaching them math and different educational stuff. And that space has a lot of things to offer for the young folks of our community. So we're going to get some of them folks to come on our platform real soon to talk about some of the things that they're trying to do with revamping the parks over there and how to get community in those spaces. So looking forward to that as well. And then want to give a huge shout out to Feline Dance Group, All Good Pizza, SFPD for the pumpkin patch yesterday. Phenomenal event. Our young people was able to come out, get pumpkins, interact with the community, with some other community engagement happening. And all of the food was supported by Big Ace Barbecue. Shout out to Big Ace Barbecue right there. Community supporting community. That's what it's all about. That's what we about here at Both Sides of the Conversation. Patronizing our Black businesses and making sure that we support them and uplift them. So phenomenal event with them. And then after that, we went to the Bravo Theater in the Mission. We went to the Roots Festival to support our brother, Rodney Jackson of the Dream Keeper and the phenomenal work that they're doing at the San Francisco Bay Area Theaters. Man, phenomenal event. We was able to catch some of that footage yesterday. It's all on our social media. We have some of that footage up on our YouTube. If you want to catch some of that, please go to our Both Sides of the Conversation YouTube channel, and it's up there as well. So we're just going to keep doing our part. Shout out to the Dream Keepers. Okay, we got a lot of Dream Keeper events taking place today over in the OMI. We got the STEM Frenzy event going on. We got the Phoenix Day Block Party happening today. There's a number of events taking place across the city and across the Bay Area. So shout out to all of those Dream Keeper grantee folks, and just shout out to the community organizations that are definitely putting in the work to bless our community with services. And it was just nice to get around yesterday. I went to Cafe Envy, supporting another small business. My brother, we're going to get him to come on. We just doing a lot of work in the community, man. And I'm just happy to see more and more of our folks coming together, trying to uplift the community. We have to do this. We have to have us. We have to do what we have to do to pull us up in this community. We can't wait on local officials. We can't work on government entities. Black folks, we got to lift each other up. We got to support each other, and we're going to continue to do that. So thank you all. I enjoy being out in community, and I'm just happy to be here and honored to be here today. With that being said, we're going to jump into a couple of announcements and, get through that, and then we'll get to some of the community announcements as well. With that being said, the TSA has put out a report that there has been a record number of guns to our airport. So I don't know what's going on, if it's the pandemic or people think the rules have changed, but for whatever reason, TSA reports of catching 4,650 firearms at checkpoints in the last 10 months. Some of them were loaded. It set a record from 2019 of 4,332. So I don't know what you guys are doing out there, community. Be smart. You cannot bring a firearm to an airport. You can't bring a loaded firearm to the airport. I believe that's only privileges of local law enforcement and things of that nature. So please, community, be smart. Don't forget to unpack your gun.
I just don't even understand.
Right. Do not put the guns in your bag trying to travel, okay? You can't do that, especially here in California. But just wanted to put that out. And then California becomes the first state to prohibit the setting of the Governor Newsom signed this bill removing condoms without permission during intercourse. This is a conversation that we're going to be talking about when we start talking about sex or battery and things of that nature. That's going to be coming up here. But this is a very, very important conversation, and the bill was signed on the 7th. And it's just more conversation that we got to have about sexual abuse and some of the things that's happening in our community. So with that being said, that's those announcements, and then a couple other things across the country. I'm not sure if you all seen our police officers in the community are still having issues when they're interacting with Black folks. There was an incident that took place in Alabama where a Black woman was dragged out the car by her braids by white officers. So again, community, it's not over. A lot of work. There's some officers who had shot some folks. So the engagement with the Black community and law enforcement is still not there. We got to figure it out and fix this. And we're going to have some conversations with our local law enforcement and with community upcoming soon. But also there was an incident that took place in Houston yesterday where one officer was killed and a couple of officers were shot in an ambush. So, we want to send condolences and prayers out to those families as well. At the end of the day, that's a human life that's been taken. But we still got some work to do in our community with law enforcement, and we're going to do our part to make sure that we have those conversations, and we will have them coming up soon. With that being said, the Mission Neighborhood Center is having a fathers group starting October 14th. It's going to be from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. They're going to do this in a virtual space. There will be a Zoom invite that will be sent out the day of the event. If you would like to get more information, look on the screen. Jesus Rails will put their information, how to connect and contact with them. If you are a single father out there, or you a father in the community and you want to get some parenting classes or be around some other fathers to learn some techniques and some things on parenting, this should be something great. So please check out the contact information if you want to be a part of that. They're doing it virtually. Please request the Zoom link to be a part of that, as well as they're going to be a construction and ramp program that they're going to be doing on October the 18th on Mondays at 4 p.m. The training date is October 20th. 18th, 20th, 25th, and 27th, Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Very, very important stuff. And then on October 23rd and the 30th, they're going to have a 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. class as we are trying to get our community back to work. We know this pandemic has removed a lot of our people from the workplace, and it's just nice to see some of these training opportunities to come to our community, get our folks ready to get back into the workforce. With that being said, the East Oakland Collective is doing their meal feeds and grocery supplies to community every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 12 p.m. They got catered meals on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. and then groceries and catered meals for the other days. Please go to their website if you want more information, or you could go to our Both Sides of the Conversation website. They are a community partner. Look under there. You could click on a link and it'll give you a quick access to their website as well. So looking forward to that. The New Roots Theater Festival, the last show is today. From 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Bravo Theater. We were out there yesterday. Phenomenal event. If you want to go check out some epic stuff, get out there today. They got different blocks and different times, different shows, different people doing different things. I'm not going to be able to be out there today, but they are out there today doing their thing. So please get out there and support that event. Brother Rodney is a powerful brother, and I like what he's doing over there for the theater. Also today, what's going on in San Francisco African-American early childhood educators are out in the community today for the STEM Frenzy Festival. This is from 10 to 2 p.m. So they're probably wrapping up now. But I know a couple of our team members went out there. Phenomenal event. If you want to connect with them, please go to their website and get their information. They're going to be doing some things with math, engineering, trying to impact our young people in the community and get them into the STEM, get them into engineering and mathematics and things of that nature. So definitely, if you want to connect with them, check them out on their website. They have more events that's going to be coming up to engage with our young people. The weekend wellness, yoga, and Tai Chi is October the 23rd. And then on the 24th as well, the registration opens on the 13th, which is already open. So if you want to get some mental health, some wellness, and learn some Tai Chi, please go on and register. The information is up on the screen, and then you could go ahead and connect with them. With that being said, the OMI Culture Participation Project is happening with the Invest Black. They're having an OMI Sneaker Ball Friday, November 12th. It's going to be located at the Minnie and Lovey Ward Center at 650 Capitol Avenue in San Francisco. The doors will open up at 5:30. It is a 6 to 8 p.m. A lot of the activities will include a DJ, food, soul line dancing, raffle. You have to have proof of vaccination. So please make sure that you are vaccinated or you bring your vaccination card with you. You can register with the Evite that they have. It's an Evite Bright on the screen. You'll see it. You can register there. And then you could contact Maurice Rivers. He's the one that's going to be hosting that. My brother Maurice is always doing stuff to impact our community. So definitely, if you want to get that information, reach out to him. The Halloween costume contest, October 31st. It's going to be at Common Courts. That's with Sister Maika Peekins and From the Heart. They're going to be doing some stuff for the young people, giving out candy on that Sunday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Youth 11 to 16, children 2 to 10. They're going to have food, raffles, and lots of candy. So looking forward to that event. Also, we're going to have another Humbre Block Party that's going to be happening. We're going to be honoring our brother TC, DJ TC, producer DJ, all of that stuff. My brother TC Weatherspoons, he's going to be out at the Cafe Envy on the 23rd from 3 to 7 p.m. With the African American Arts and Cultural District. We'll get that information out as well. And then the Ministry Studios, entertaining. They're going to be doing some studio presence at the Sunset Community Church in Livermore on 2200 Arroyo Road. That is coming up on November 20th. We'll get more information out about that. The doors open at 5 p.m. The show starts at 6. The tickets are $20. We'll put the information up there as well. And then on the 30th at Cafe Envy, they will be having the Halloween block party for the young people as well. That will be happening on the 30th. So we're looking forward to that. Also, a couple more events before we get out of here. Both sides of the conversation, community. We're about to start getting the information out soon. We're going to have a family unity day. We're doing a partnership with East Oakland Collective at the Oakland Skating Ring. We're going to have a both sides of the conversation, East Oakland Collective family day to come out and skate. We're going to put some information out in the community so y'all can get that information. It's coming soon, but we want y'all to get that ready on your calendar. That will be November 13th. It'll be from 3 to 6 p.m. On that Saturday. So if you would like to be a part of it, more information will be coming out. We also are looking for sponsors, people to help us with this event. So we'll be getting that information out to the community, but we want to just let community know it's coming down the line. And then also we will be partnered with East Oakland Collective and a number of community partnerships to do the annual Feed the Hood event that's coming up November 20th. I know it's a little ways out, but we'll be getting that information out to community, the flyers and information. If you would like to participate, donate, or volunteer, that's going to be coming up real soon. So looking forward to that event. And there's a number of other phenomenal things that's going to be happening here with both sides of the conversation. We're going to be doing some stuff with Rafiki House and some other organizations to help impact our community. So we are looking forward to that. And then here at both sides of the conversation, y'all know we have 3 live shows every week. Our Hidden Gem segment is every Tuesday at 7 p.m. where we will continue to highlight our Black and brown businesses, as well as our community leaders that are doing positive things to impact our community. So every Tuesday, please tune into our YouTube channel and watch our Hidden Gem segment, learn some of the Black and brown businesses that come on this platform, where they at and how you can support them, as well as you can come check out some of these powerful community leaders and talk about some of the things that they're doing to impact our community. And then we have an educational Thursday happening this Thursday. We're going to have Dante King and some other folks come on and talk about some of the things that's taking place in the workplace. And just it's going to be a powerful presentation. We'll get that information out to the community as soon as we give more information, but that will be this Thursday. And then upcoming Sunday conversations. As y'all know, today we got our lovely Black Panther Party here. Next Sunday, we're going to have an important conversation around domestic violence. As you all know, this is October. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we're going to have a phenomenal conversation about domestic violence. We got some guests that's going to come on and really talk about some of the ins and outs and what's going on. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. And then on October 31st, that conversation, we're going to be talking about microaggressions in the workplace. This is a very important conversation that we need to have as our Black and brown workers are being impacted in the workplace with microaggressions. And we're going to talk a little bit of how it impacts you and things of that nature. So looking forward to that. And then as we start transitioning to the month of November, we're going to have on the 11th, we're going to be talking I think that date is wrong, but the Sunday conversation will be, we'll be talking with our veterans, honoring our veterans, and having some of the Black veterans come on our show. Last year, they did a phenomenal job. We'll be reaching out to them as well. And then on the 14th of November, we'll be having our part 2 of our relationship conversation. We had so much response about part 1, so we're having a part 2. So we'll be getting some of those guest backs and add additional guests to our relationship conversation part 2. That's coming up. And then on the 21st, we'll be talking about Black women in self-defense and protection. As you all know, our sisters have been attacked. Things have been happening during this pandemic. And as we get closer to the holidays, we have to make sure that we protect our women and make sure that they have the tools and information that they need to protect themselves as we are coming down into that time of the year. When time goes back an hour, it's getting dark. We got to make sure our women of the community understand how to protect themselves, watch themselves, and some of the things that they're doing during this holiday season to be safe. So we're looking forward to that as well. With that being said, I'm going to close my mouth now, and I'm going to play a quick video, and then we're going to have Brittany introduce the CBO, and then the CBO is going to introduce our Black Panther Party. So give me 1 second as I pull up this video, and you guys check this out.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Saturu Ned, also known as James Mott. former member of the Black Panther Party. I'm here to inform everybody, if you don't already know, that October is Black Panther Party History Month. We're celebrating 55th anniversary. And also, there are many events happening all around the Bay Area as well as other areas of the country. But I wanted to draw your attention to two events in particular. One is going to be on Friday, October 22nd, and that is going to be from 10 to 4 p.m., 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's going to be located at the Bayview Opera House, 4705 3rd Street in San Francisco. And it is actually something that's being put on by the community in honor of the Black Panther Party. There'll be a free breakfast for the children in the community. There'll be performances, poetry reading. There'll be speakers there. There'll also be music, DJs, information on health and wellness, sickle cell testing, which the Black Panther Party pioneered, as well as giveaways of food and groceries. So this event is in San Francisco. Come on out and support the 55th anniversary. And also on Sunday, October the 24th, there's an event in Oakland, and it will be at Rocky's Market in the Brooklyn Basis at 288 9th Avenue in Oakland, California, from 3 to 5:30. And then after that, there will be music and people having a chance to mingle and enjoy each other's company. And also, we want to make sure that we have our COVID protocol in place and everybody knows what that is. So October 24th, come on out, go on Eventbrite, and you can do that by going to our website, bppaln.org. That's bppaln.org. And there you can register. The price of the ticket also includes a beautiful dinner as well as a souvenir Black Panther Party original t-shirt. So come on out and support these events and the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. Thank you so much. All power to the people.
All right. So excited for today's show. So today's conversation, we are celebrating the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. And we have on the show today the Legacy Keepers. And they're here to ensure that we are educated with the truth about the Black Panther Party so that their legacy can live on. And we are so happy to have here today Dr. Saturo Ned, Professor Steve McCutcheon, and a CBO Holiday. They'll be talking to us. They're going to give us some education about the background on the party, what's currently taking place, and what are their future plans. So thank you for joining us today. And you guys can go ahead and just start talking about the background.
Okay.
You're muted.
A part to the people. Act like you know, man. It's the platform. It's the 10-point program. Freedom, employment, robbery, housing, education, healthcare, police brutality. Plus, we want to end all wars of aggression. We want a fair trial by jury of peers. We want land, bread, housing, clothing, education, justice, and peace, and people's control of modern technology. Good afternoon. My name is Eusebio Holiday, also known as Eusebio the Automatic. I'm a hip-hop artist from Oakland, California, and a volunteer with the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network. You can check us out, bppaln.org. We're here today to talk about the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. October is Black Panther Party History Month, and 2021 is the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. 55 years ago in 1966, Dr. Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seals formed the Black Panther Party for self-defense and made the 10-point platform, which spoke on things like full employment and police brutality. Some of the founding members were Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seals, Lil Bobby Hutton, Albert Big Man Howard, and the Forte brothers. And even though the Black Panther Party may have started in Oakland, California, its influence spread nationwide, and it opened up chapters in cities across the United States like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And even though the Black Panthers started off as the Black Panther Party for self-defense as its ideology grew, it dropped the leather coats and the guns and created survival programs pending revolution. the party instituted these programs and the vision of them helping the African American and the poor and oppressed people meet their basic necessities so that they might organize and acquire the resources for self-determination and be able to control their own destiny, like point number one of the 10-point platform. But the Black Panther Party was not just limited to the United States. Its influence spread nationwide. And with this newspaper, it showed solidarity with poor and oppressed people across the world in countries like Algeria, Guinea-Bissau, Japan. The Japanese students invited some of the Black Panther Party members to speak to the students, and they took a stance against the Vietnam War. And even kids in Denmark and in Germany wanted to learn more about the Black Panther Party. So we're here today to ask the question, where do we go from here? And to talk about some of the events that are going to be happening this month, which marks the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. So I'm here to introduce two members, alumni members of the Black Panther Party, Dr. Satoru Ned and Professor Steve McCutcheons, and they're going to come on and educate the community about the legacy of the Black Panther Party. So all power to the people.
All power to the people. Thank you so much, Asibio, for that wonderful beginning introduction. I am Dr. Satoru Ned, and first of all, I want to say thank you for inviting us to this Both Sides of the Conversation. And I also want everyone to understand how we feel that this network should be the premier network beyond Fox Soul and the rest of them that really addresses the community issues and needs. Not only does that, but is actively engaging in physical activity with them. So I want to salute both sides of the conversation and everyone who's involved. And thank you again for inviting us on. I want to first of all talk about basically who we are. We are the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network. And that idea, of course, is actually looking at where would the party have gone after 1982. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the Black Panther Party, as Asibio mentioned, began in 1966. And everything we talk about is a highlight, tip of the iceberg of the knowledge, part of our experience. The work was so complex and the tenure and everything that we're involved in here in Oakland and across the country and across the world, and who engaged in the work. Everyone from every community, including poor white Confederate flag waving people from the Appalachian Mountains in Chicago, called the Young Patriots, who were part of the coalition called the Original Rainbow Coalition. So how was that happening? How was that able to come about where everyone who realized that they were oppressed, no matter what their color was, no matter what ethnic group they came from, having a chance to point that out? Why did everybody come together? And why is it looking at what happened then, what is happening in 2021? And I just want to mention the historical aspect before I go a little bit further, that the same Renaissance happened right after the first pandemic in 1918, after the war. That's when we had the rise of, I like to call them Black enterprise zones rather than Black Wall Street. We also had the development of our historically Black college institutions at that point in time. We also had a plethora, an unbelievable amount, even though patents were stolen, of inventions by Black people. These basic things are something that is not known by our children in the schools as well as the general public. So the Black Panther Party from 1966 and ended in 1982, officially dissolved at the Oakland Community Learning Center, which housed the Oakland Community School by Dr. Huey P. Newton. For 16 years, under the duress of the attack of the most powerful country in this world. Why was the breakfast program designated as the greatest internal threat to the security of the United States? Why were we as young people who came off the college campuses, and many of us from the community, and brothers and sisters returning from Vietnam, and brothers and sisters who worked in the community and jobs and had businesses joined the ranks of the Black Panther Party. Why would we consider it dangerous? It had nothing to do with weapons or had nothing to do with black leather jackets. So I'm going to tell you a little bit briefly about myself and why I joined the Black Panther Party. The year was 1967. You have to realize the transition that was taking place all over the country, the buzz and the discussion of what was the right path to take, the emergence of the civil rights movement with Dr. King, and then the further development, which I was a part of, when SNCC, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Nkrumah, began SNCC as far as students, and we were all students, so we wanted to join. And the fact that the symbol of the Black Panther coming from Lyles County was actually used for voting, which are some of the things in our survival programs. As I go along, I will mention those very things. So what attracted me to the party? 1967, Sacramento, California. Satoru Ned, also known as James Mott, was senior. It was a senior at the Luther Burbank High. It was a senior cut day. I don't encourage everybody to do this in this era, but that's what we did. And I was downtown by myself. Had to be my destiny. Looking at the governor across the street, Ronald Reagan. All of a sudden, he was whisked off. The group of children and their chaperones were left standing there. And about 100 yards straight forward down to the next entrance, I was facing the front entrance. But on the right side entrance, about 100 yards down, I could see these people walking in. And I thought that they had sticks in their hand. So I crossed the street, went behind them, as well as those young white kids from the suburbs and their chaperones. We all followed them in. So I happened to be there, was witness to this. I didn't know Bobby. I didn't know little Bobby, Emory Douglas, or the Forte brothers, but I certainly saw and witnessed the response. When they went to the balcony, and they wanted to go to the balcony, but they ended up going on the floor. And a lot of pictures you may never ever seen, you see the ones where they're escorting them out. But today they don't show you the one where they had all the legislators cowering under the table while they were standing there talking, because logistically they wanted to be upstairs in the balcony to read our constitutional right to bear arms. The patrols had started in Oakland. And remember, at this time, the party was localized to Oakland in the Bay Area. And people were hearing bits and pieces. But when they came to Sacramento about the Mulford Act, the right of the community to bear arms, which is constitutional, and also to know their rights. And of course, at that time, their patrols would engage in riding around, armed patrols, because it was illegal to carry a weapon with the breech open, and read them their legal rights. UEP Newton, Dr. Newton at the time was a student at the San Francisco Law School. So everybody learned about our constitutional rights. You didn't have camera phones, but when you got out, it would draw a crowd, and people began to say, we don't have to accept this kind of behavior. So after that, that was an event. So in 1967, that took place, and as a matter of fact, the following year was the year that Martin Luther King was assassinated. The king is dead. Long live the king was our mantra. But at the same time, 2 days later, little Bobby Hutton was murdered in Oakland, California. And for us, it was a shockwave. It was amazing because the average age or the spread of the age of the Black Panther Party, we had members as young as 15 years old. I happened to be 19, between 18 and 19, when it hit me about little Bobby Hutton. And many party members will tell you that. Why would they kill this young man? He was our peer. And it wasn't just a young black man being killed or murdered like they do us anyway. He was engaged in political activity. Nothing less than like what anyone else on this network today, the work that John does and all the rest of us do in the community. And he was assassinated for that work. That sent a shockwave across America of young people taking a look and saying, this is something that we have to do, something we have to take a look at and join in. And we did. So the idea at that point in time is joining the Black Panther Party was not the black leather jackets. It was not guns or anything like that. It was the ideology and the fact that they wanted to actually serve the community in a way that people would benefit on an ongoing basis. And we had no idea at that point in time what we would be faced with. But we realized after a period of time that we had to continue the work that we were doing. So the interesting thing concerning that is that my history coming into the party, I was in Sacramento. I was going to Sacramento Community College, getting ready to transfer to San Diego State. I was running track and field. I was working with Tommy Smith and John Carlos and Harry Edwards about boycotting everything, sports. Nothing would take place from football to basketball to track all year long, all across America. But Tommy Smith, Carlos did another thing. But for me, it was a turning point. We were getting ready to go to a famous race called the West Coast Relays. Went in 1969 to my coach. We were active on the campuses. We were doing community work. We were recruiting students. So he told me, he said he had 2 visitors from the FBI. They were very animate. They told him either I quit organizing, stop the Black Panther Party, or suffer the consequences. So at first I thought he was joking, but then I realized he was serious. And I told him I can't stop. I have to do what I can do. So I never saw him again after that season. He gave me a great hug and said, "You live your conviction." I never knew at that point in time what we were going to be faced with these agencies because of the work that we did. But in June 15th, which is a day I'll never forget, as a father, and all the fathers, we had these celebrations in what they call Oak Park area in Sacramento. And at that point in time, with a youth celebration, we had about 5,000 or 10,000 people out there. And we got wind and word that from the Oakland Observer, the editor came to me and said, "I want to let you know that they plan on attacking the office today." We found out that a 200 tactical man squad had come up from Los Angeles. The office was attacked. There's a whole story behind that, but I'm a survivor of that and how the community engaged. They turned off the electricity in the community. It was amazing. We actually saved 8 to 9 children who were standing in the middle of the street before they opened fire on our office at the time. And then I was transferred. We closed our office there, came to Richmond, ended up at central headquarters, engaged in organizing on the campuses, bringing thousands of students with the campaign for Bobby Seale. I was part of the lumpen singing group and part of the original security with national speakers for central headquarters. But it was all part of the duty. It was all part of our dedication to the work. And what we engaged upon were programs that would change our community. Survival pending revolution. Children were hungry. No one was feeding them. Let's do that. We did that. So you had 65 documented programs. We addressed everything. The first housing. We had 300 unit housing, and we're doing it again. Elaine Brown has a project in West Oakland, 7th and Camel, breaking ground in November for 73, what is called very, very low income. There'll be no requirements about rates of market, what you make. It'll be based upon the need. And this is what we did before. The first senior housing in America, partnership with Allen Temple. These are the kind of things that we were doing while we were being demonized. So I am elated at this section and junction of this presentation to hear what the community is doing, to hear the engagement after all that has happened to us, that Oakland, the Bay Area, is alive and well, and the community is coming together. And we are honored that the continuing work is based upon the legacy of the work that we established so many years ago. And I love the fact that people right now have taken on that mantra. Nothing is impossible. It's one of my favorite phrases. I'll tell people when we started, it was a Sahara Desert. There wasn't even an oasis, no medical care. You went to the emergency. If you didn't have money to pay the doctor, you're out of luck. And a lot of them would take you because of racist practices. And this was across the board. There were no health clinics. There were no food banks. There were no educational facilities that taught us anything. There was no reprisal for police action, nothing. That's how you had all the Head Start and Urban League, and all these concepts grew out of the work of the Black Panther Party bringing attention. But of course, we were always demonized. and people tried to take the programs. Like a lot of people didn't know to 2016 that we created the WIC program. And it was documented that we did. It started right there in Oakland, California. There is a story behind that. So all down the line, we looked at the needs of the community and we said, let's take this upon ourselves and not waste time on what we see people will and are not doing. We know that the agencies didn't care. The school districts weren't feeding them. And we're almost at that point of rekindling that effort of wholesome breakfasts. There's already a study. It's gone to 1 in 6 kids in America go to bed hungry. What kind of madness is that? And a lunch is maybe the biggest meal that most of them will have. What about dinner? What about breakfast? What we're seeing is that this nation does not care about our children, just like before. It does not care about your health care, just like before. It does not care whether your children learn or grow in any respect. So just to give you an idea that 55 years and still going strong. When we joined the party, we had no idea that we would still be. We thought, well, according to what we were told, that we wouldn't last the next year. You know, if you're 19 or 20, you know, they're telling us they're going to get rid of us, and they were all every intent of doing so, but we would continue doing what we did. But here we are, you know, several decades later, and realizing that we have a purpose in the work that we are doing. So what happened, we've always been engaged in the community. We've always been addressing issues. We've always worked with organizations. We've always given guidance on how to be the most effective in your community organization and how to address concepts by talking about how we thought and what we did, which Professor Steve will get into after I conclude my part of this presentation. So why did we create the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network? One of the reasons simply was after the rush of George Floyd, and we must have got hundreds of calls. What is the Black Panther? Well, there's no Black Panther Party. Well, what can the elders do? I said, you're upset and you're angry. I said, emotions, you're not thinking is out. You're not thinking in an analytical manner. You're not observing and studying. We never were out there. While people were out rioting and doing what they did, we learned in the early 60s and 70s. And even after Martin Luther King was murdered, when 110 cities had riots all at once, Oakland didn't, because the Black Panther Party. But it just exploded. So we had that experience. While that was going on, we were sitting down, our babies are starving. What are we going to do? Let's engage. Let's come together. The most important thing we were able to do was create what we call community collaborations. And the idea, everybody take these concepts, these are your programs. And once we're established and everybody see that we can work together, it spread to other communities of color and other poor communities, or even the Indian reservations. And as Acebio mentioned, 30 chapters or 30 countries had Black Panther Party chapters, or they had what they call the Panther movement, like they did in London, England, in the England period. And everyone had the same or similar issues. And we were just really honored the fact that the legacy was continuing on in that basis. So after all that, we began a concept where we said, let's create something where we can actually, those that want to learn, they can. And what we did, we came up with the concept of the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network. Its purpose is for us to pass on everything that we did. And most important of all, it wasn't romantic. It wasn't like a movie and glamorous. It was scary and dangerous. Many times we would be working 20 hours a day. And people ask us, why did you do what you did? We gave it 150%, if there was such a figure, because of the plight that we saw. Remember, coming off the campuses, and this is why they don't want our children educated today. We understood America. We knew what they were doing. We said, we looked at everything that was going on in the world. We looked at all this in Algeria, Cuba, China, all the things that were happening. And we did have diplomatic status in about 8 countries who were suffering the same degradation and oppression from this country, United States of America. But all these things and the commonality, they admired the fact that we as Black people had galvanized our community and brought other people from other communities in the belly of the beast, in the backyard of the most oppressive country, and we took on the mantle of what we were going to do. And yes, there were party members who were murdered, as you well know the story of Fred Hampton, Bunchy Carter, John Huggins, and the list goes on. And of course, George Jackson, our field marshal, and Jonathan Jackson, who I knew very well. We all did, and we're all in the same age group. But the list goes on. And then those brothers and sisters who were locked up. Some still, you know the story, Panthers in jail for 40, 50 years. Was it because of weapons? Of course not. Was it because they had some magical metahuman power like an Avenger? No, of course not. It was because what we understood about America. Is because we understood the games. We understood the moves they were making. We were able to take that and come up with an ideology and concept that always evolved. We started off with Black Power was the galvanizing force. And then we evolved into what we call revolutionary nationalism. What about our other brothers and sisters? And then it went into revolutionary and communalism. And I'm not going to get into that because Professor Steve is going to talk about that some more, but I just wanted to mention those points to you of how we consistently evolve in the way that we thought. And that is one of the basic keys in terms of the work that we're doing now, that we never got stuck on stupid. We never got stuck on one area, our ideology, our way we looked at it. In other words, revolution, what you thought was then is not revolution now. We know right now is the revolution of the mind in education. We're actually farmers again, planting those seeds, watering them, fertilizing, and it's really going to start with our children. We're going to have to learn to teach them and work with themselves. So the world today is a mess. We were talking about it earlier. I mean, we're talking about what they've done. This is how they've orchestrated this whole concept. They flooded our community again with weapons during the pandemic, during the George Floyd riots. I don't know if you knew, but every gun store, not only here in Oakland, in the East Bay area, Hayward, but this happened all over America. The first thing, all the weapons they could get. Then you have domestic gun dealers who are coming in and creating child soldiers out of our youth, as young as 9 and 10 years old, with weapons, assault rifles. They're not coming from the regular situations that they would normally get weapons. And look what they've done. This is why I tell you, they know how to work their plan. They understand that their concept is already in place. They've turned the concept of defunding the police in general, except for the bubble of California, one or two cities and areas, to this very same people who are hollering, we want defunding of the police, are now hollering, we want more police on the street. The activity, the response, and also the defiance of treatment of people in the community still continues. Point number 7 of the 10-point platform program. But as the CBO said, we addressed education. We want decent housing. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace, fair trials. It's all there in the 10-point platform and program. So what we did as looking at this, and nothing should ever discourage anyone. Once you understand the process of what they're doing, and because of what we have done and continue to do, and everything that we did is based upon truth, experience, and documentation. So what we're telling people is not an opinion. It is our own personal, on the ground, having been there. As our series that we have in our classes on Saturday is walking in our shoes and seeing it to our eyes. And we've had an unbelievable, tremendous inquiry and outpouring of people thinking and learning because they're hearing from us. They're hearing the truth, not in a book. They're not hearing it from some video. They're not hearing it from some opinion. So this is a period of truth and correctness. And why? Because it is important to us as original alumni members all over the country of the Black Panther Party to pass on the truth about the Black Panther Party and the knowledge. And yes, we were human beings too. We had dreams, we had fears, we had doubts. A lot of people suffered all kinds of things as party members. and we tell our stories. But what we learned then allowed us to go on in life, to do things like start schools in all parts of countries, become elected officials in cities like Winston-Salem for 2 or 3 decades, to where they're making effective change. People going into the elected arena, people going into medicine, people going into every area. But what kept us going was what we learned in the Black Panther Party. They did everything they thought they could to. So we're saying this to you at this point in time right now, that do not be discouraged. Do not think that nothing is going to change. For the first time in generations, the collaboration is coming together, and we hope we feel that the truth and knowledge that we've been putting forth, no individual can do it alone. No one organization can do it alone. But when you're coming together and addressing everything wrong in the community, that's real power of the people. That's power of the people getting ready to get power to the people by being able to do that. So I just want to basically touch on a couple of things, some of the community initiatives that we're engaged in. And all these things, if you go thoroughly on our website, you'll be able to see these things there. Please go through the whole thing. We have an unbelievable A to the P merchandise site. I mean, it's been very, very successful for us. And we use that to keep the network going, because as you well know, we're not going to get grants. We're not going to get loans from agencies simply because of who we are and what we're about in terms of the truth. So we don't expect government loans or anything like that. But we do get a great outpouring, and we'll continue to build that from community and other entities in this area and beyond. So education. What's happening with education? Well, our concept is we're going to teach what is not being taught. They're not taught their dignity. They're not taught their history. They don't know who they are. They're not taught about the ability what are basic finances. And when we talk about basic finances, we're talking about the educational initiative. What is a credit card? What is a debit card? What are interest rates? Our children aren't taught these things. In most of your suburban schools, they are taught the financial aspects. They have most of them have the opportunity of seeing their parents use their credit cards. They get them credit cards. They teach them these things because they're into that area. They control the finances. This is something our children don't know. In order for them to live life and to be effective, as well as start a business, they need to know these things. And also, Professor Steve and I, several other, we're working on a concept of STEM, like teaching physics through activity in sports, and actually teaching the concept of physics and STEM through rap. You know, what is everything that we do has an aspect of math as well as physics and all that whole STEM concept. So we know this will bring the children to the table, hands-on. I mean, a baseball is thrown at 100 miles an hour. What force does it take? Taking them to see these things, watching them, engaging in them. We feel that this will also expand the ranks. But most important of all, we have to understand that our people are telling us. I work on the campuses. Professor Steve and I work with students and teachers all day long. What happens after they graduate? Look at the rate. They're not hiring us. They're not hiring Black women. Black women are the biggest graduating class in America. But look at what they graduate in if they're being hired. No, they're not. Look at Black males, a discouragement. Why should I go to school? My brother went and he still has a degree in master's, and he can't get a job in his profession. And he owes a ton in student loans, and they bugging him about that. So what do we do with all this? We take this and we create the ability for our people, once they do that, to come and service their community. It's done in the Asian community and every time. It's done in other communities all the time. And this is the new era. This is the new period, our new normal, our ability to create our own destiny and determine self-determination on our own. So that is part of, there are many other little segments of this educational process. One other project that we're working on is in Oakland, across from Bobby Hutton Park. I call it the block of dreams come true. It is involving several well-known people from this area. It's one of them I mentioned is Jason Kidd Project. Some other ball players and other people are coming together. They want to build a school in a complex and create a mini museum, the Black Panther Museum, with the library concept. Create a whole concept, turn the park, fully make it Bobby Hutton Park. It is officially Bobby Hutton Grove. Create a sports concept, teaching concept, use a culinary art school, create a restaurant. They would cook the food for the students. The restaurant will be a way of bringing food. There's so many components to it. But these are the things that we all will be engaged in. But it starts with engaging on all these wonderful events that we're hearing about, people coming together and saying, look, the more we come together, the next thing you know, you got 30 organizations, 30 groups with being on the same page. Powerful. You talk about results become powerful, and they make a lot of sense, and you do see great results. Healthcare, preventative healthcare. We had done several months ago. We were honored and privileged to do a presentation on health right on this very same network, both sides of the conversation, and we talked about mental health as well as physical health. And for us, I talked about 8 areas of health issues that really affect Black people as part of our initiative of preventative health care. We feel that the only way that our people are going to listen to us concerning COVID or anything else that may come up, like we did before. When we started the health clinics, people would tell us, we are here because it is you, the Black Panther Party, and Black people involved. We trust you. We know that you are there for our very welfare, our very being. So we are going to engage in checkups. Prenatal care. Why are Black women dying in childbirth? That doesn't make any sense. Or unbelievable, 2 or 3 times higher than other people. That's because of the ill health care they're receiving. But this is in every category. We were able to circumvent that. We will recruit unbelievable doctors and nurses, and every specialist you can imagine worked in our clinics all across the country with a real passion for serving the community and our people. So that was how we gained the trust of the Black community who didn't have any health care. There were no Kaiser plans. There was no Aetna plans. There was no Health Net plans. There was no Medicare. There was none of that. There was no Medi-Cal. That was a direct result of the work that we did. As a matter of fact, a clinic we have one of our clinics still is in operation in Seattle, Washington. So the other aspect, if you look at on our site, one of the other initiatives is technology. Utilizing technology for self-sufficiency. Well, everybody says, well, the kids, they learn coding, they do that. I said, that's wonderful. We use technology for social media. They use it for e-commerce and building business concepts. And this is why we want to shift this. Our children have that knowledge of, and their whizzes on this. I'm going to give you a perfect example. They had, a few years ago, we had that big tech conference here in Oakland, and it was 10,000 Black tech people from all over the world and all over the country in particular came to this event. Make a long story short, we did a presentation on 9th and Washington. The whole big event was at the Marriott Convention Center. Google, Apple, they were all there. They had community organizations. We had an hour, less. Most people had 20 minutes. By the time we were finished and it was all said and done, they told us that we had 1,500 people in the tent, another 500 standing around, and another 2,000 trying to get in. They said we were the biggest draw for this tech convention. So what that tells us is that our people on every level, even in their industry, know that there's a quagmire, that they're treated like dirt, they are demonized, and they're told, why are you even here? So one brother, Adrian DeVisitant, he was recruited by Apple, all these countries, offered him hundreds of thousands of dollars salary as well as stock options, turned all that down. He went through the gamut of discrimination, all the stuff that you can imagine, treated like he was nothing. Top engineer who taught himself, created an app, award-winning app, and that's how it got attention of Google and all of them. Well, today, this young man has a program where he's teaching 9th and 10th graders, and starting with 9th graders, full software. So by the time they're done and they graduate from high school, they will have the equivalent of a software engineering degree. What that means is the purpose is we create our own tech hub. We have young people learning, and that's the ball. If you're a software engineer, then you have the ability to create your own foundation for a tech hub of your own company concept, turning out apps that help enhance the work that we're all doing, where people can go on and see this socially conscious information going out. So this is an amazing concept to where, and here's the kicker on this. He started off with 5. I know he just started his class in October, and the 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party, the second group. And I think he's up to 20 students. And the parents are involved. They do a video, they get online, and once they're approved, which is no big deal, it's like you have the desire, they're actually sent a $2,000 computer. I told them I want one of those where they're able to utilize it. It doesn't cost them anything. The whole concept is already paid for, which blows parents' mind. This is the love that we have for our people. And this is what we're all doing. If it wasn't for that fact, we wouldn't be out there if it wasn't the true reason that we have the love for the people. So I just want to highlight some of the programs that we're involved in as initiatives, what we call hands-on, let's get involved, and let's make this happen. We're on the road to, first of all, creating that unity by having all these wonderful things happen, number one. And also, as was said earlier, everyone to try as much as they possibly can to support the activities of each group. After a period of time, what starts to happen, the collaboration begins, where we start addressing real issues outside of having events and saying, how are we going to solve this? Well, we need this to happen. Well, together, we're going to make it happen. And what it does, it opens up the door for great support from everybody, because you have everybody coming in. When you have everybody coming in, it's like the 65 survival programs. You cover everything in the community where there is a need. And the power, and people feel no matter when they go in front of somebody, these people look around and they have all these other people saying, we're here for them, because they're always here for us. This hasn't happened in decades. And so now we are here to rekindle that along with those who are already engaged. And most important of all, to let you know that we're here and we're here to support you. We got your back, no matter who you're dealing with, because there's no one out there who can argue with us. Everything that we say and do is based upon experience. The documentation is there globally, and also our knowledge of actually engaging and creating these survival programs and these concepts. So the idea here is I just wanted to take this period of time because I'm excited about the opportunity to be here on this particular day and time for this event, as well as to disseminate this information. I know hopefully I've generated some questions and comments, but I just wanted to end by saying, before I turn it over to Professor Steve, what has the network done to disseminate this knowledge? What have we been engaged in that has actually changed people's thoughts, changed their actions, their behavior, and most important of all, their vision on that, yes, we can change things for ourselves, our community, and America. So on that note, I'm going to end my part of the presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to Professor Steve McCutcheon.
All right, everybody. Hello, and Dr. Ned. All right, we're off and running one more time. Yes. Back in the saddle. And on the heels of Dr. Ned's presentation, what I'm going to do is take us back through time and fill in some of the gaps about the history and legacy of the party. And I'm going to do that through what we have introduced as part of the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network as a module, an educational module that is actually the predecessor to an academic course that we have developed, a full academic course around the history and legacy of the party that we are yet to introduce. So this is a prologue model, and because of so many questions and fallacies around the history and the existence of the party, when we began talking to people, talking with people involved in the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network, we understood that there were going to be a lot of questions and a lot of information relevant to the Black Panther Party. And Dr. Ned and I, over the years, through our conversations, through our discussions, speaking engagements, we found that there were, one, often persistent questions. There were all often nuisance questions, and there were just outright misinformed disinformation and fallacies about from day one of the Black Panther Party up to and including the events of the day. So this is what we did in developing the module, the educational module around the Black Panther Party. And the module includes 5 sections: the origins of the Black Panther Party, the original vision of the Black Panther Party, the community survival programs, the repression against the Black Panther Party, and the ideology and philosophy of the Black Panther Party. Now, I am not going to present the questions, all the questions from the different sections, and I'm not going to present all of the fallacies. What I'm going to do is summarize questions and fallacies from each section, so that we'll have a view of what we presented to Alumni Legacy Network participants, and it gives our viewers today a chance to see what we are presenting in terms of correcting the mistaken ideas of the party and correcting mistaken stories about the party, many of which were passed through people second and third hand as information, that's correct information. What we are going to present here is the correct information, the correct chronology of the party, the correct information in terms of the true participants in the party and the true counteractions against the party during our development, and then us fading from the Black political organizational scene during that period of our existence. Okay, so now the prologue sessions, they were an introduction to that broader academic curriculum that was designed by the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network. And it brought together future Alumni Legacy Network participants so that they would have an understanding of the correct foundations for carrying forth the legacy and history of the party and working towards a common ground for ongoing efforts at community-based programs and institutions. Now, what we presented in the prologue module, it was not intended to offer an answer all about the questions and fallacies that have been passed around to us and others who have spoken about the Black Panther Party. It was basically to lay a groundwork for what to look forward to, what to listen to in terms of correctly identifying the history and the legacy of the party. Separate the truth from what was false, to separate what was presented incorrectly about the party and understand what was correct about the party. So we did that. We've done this twice in terms of offering the prologue module, the educational module, and each time we've synthesized it so that we can include more questions and open the door for more fallacies. But here in this session, I'm just going to concentrate module by module on synthesizing what we have and what we want to offer now about the legacy and history of the party. So let me start with section 1 of our module, and we'll go from there. And Dr. Ned may be able to come in at points of the sections and add more meat to the bone in terms of some of the sections also. But before that, let me go back. Dr. Ned introduced his beginnings to the party. Let me do likewise. While Dr. Ned was on the ground out here in California, I came into the party in 1968 with the Baltimore chapter, the early framework for the Baltimore chapter in 1968. There, I had the opportunity to visit the East Baltimore community, where the party originated there, and that's where we stayed until the office moved in 1971 to West Baltimore. But during that time, I also had the opportunity to visit and work with comrades in Philadelphia, New York, and New Haven, Connecticut chapters. And those opportunities of meeting those comrades there, and then also at the Sunday staff meetings, gave me an opportunity to hear what other comrades were doing in their respective areas and how they were working to implement programs and to inform the community and better prepare the community for that concept of survival pending revolution. March of 1972, I and others, the last of the others from the Baltimore chapter, we arrived here. We arrived in the Oakland area, and we were here in time to participate in the first Black Community Survival Conference, which was held the last weekend in March 1972. So even though I was just told I was going to be out here for the season, I was told to come out here in 1972, but as you can see, this is 2021, so I've been out here a pretty long season. So with that, let me get back to the points that I want to bring to the table about the educational module of the Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Network. And I'll begin with section 1, which is the origins of the Black Panther Party. So I'll present you the information. We'll have time for discussion and questions afterwards, either after each section or at the end of this part of my presentations. Okay, let's start with this. First of all, Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale recognized that existing ideas and actions of organizations and movements and discussions had reached their limits in 1966, and that new methods of self-determination and liberation of Black people were needed. Therefore, the Black Panther Party arose as police brutality and murder of Black people was recognized as being rampant. And the first act of then the Black Panther Party for self-defense was to observe the police in our communities through the use of armed police patrols. Now, this did not mean that the Black members of the Black Panther Party then went out hunting for police. It meant that following constitutional and legal guides that were then in effect, Huey and Bobby and other members of the party then patrolled the police, observed them as they made arrests or interrogated people on the streets. If they chose to question police, they stood at a reasonable distance so they did not interfere with police action. All this was legal under city and state ordinances and laws at that time. This fact of interfering with police activity, this was something new at that time. It was a shock to the police department, the Oakland Police Department, and it, in fact, challenged their authority in the Black community. This was the beginning of the tensions between the Black Panther Party and the police department, and it sowed the seed for eventual repression against members of the party and the party in general. Now, Huey then as Minister of Defense, and Bobby Seale as chairman, each were on the ground in the community, educating around the 10-point program and platform. And the early founding members, outside of Huey and Bobby, they also included Albert Big Man Howard, Sherman, and Reginald Forte, and of course, little Bobby Hutton. These were the 6 founding members of the Black Panther Party. As they moved on, the Black Panther Party Central Committee structure began to take shape in 1967. And the function of the Central Committee members were to provide leadership in their different areas of responsibility and to bring the needed skills as the party developed its organizational operations. Now, among those members of the early Central Committee, these outside of Huey P. Newton as the Minister of Defense and Bobby Seale as chairman. Then there was Eldridge Cleaver as Minister of Information, Emory Douglas as the revolutionary artist to become the Minister of Culture. There was Melvin Newton, brother to Huey, Minister of Finance, Kathleen Cleaver, Communications Secretaries, Donald Cox, first Field Marshal, George Mary, who had been a professor at San Francisco State University, became Minister of Education, Stokely Carmichael from SNCC. The party had been in contact with SNCC, and because some of their premier speakers, their most forward-thinking speakers and participants were approached to ask them if they could participate with the Black Panther Party. And also during those early days, Huey recognized that administrative skills were also needed in the party. So approaching SNCC, and also in particular certain members of SNCC, some of the members were recruited, and but overall we weren't able to bring SNCC in on a full collaborative basis in order to aid with administrative problems, difficulties, and growth in the party. Now, also among that group that were drafted into the party from SNCC included H. Rap Brown, became Minister of Justice, and James Foreman, who was designated the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Now, one thing people never understood, that even though their name was listed among the leadership of the party with the Central Committee of the party, those SNCC members, they never had any line authority on the Central Committee. They were instrumental in building alliances and administrative skills, but they had no line authority in the Black Panther Party. Okay. Now, new members of the party came from all areas of the community. Some early members had joined after being bailed out of jail by the party. Others came from student campuses after leaving their jobs, and those who joined after watching the police patrols and having previous encounters with the police. The Black Panther Party, we never intended to be a mass organization. We didn't, our intent was not to recruit everybody on the block, not as part of the membership. We instead were a political party intending to educate, organize, and mobilize the masses around the 10-point program, which brought to the attention of the masses of people the organized ideas that were relevant to the liberation of all Black and poor people here in America. Now the police patrols, leafleting about police and other community issues, rallies in the community, and neighborhood interaction, they were some of the early efforts of the party. The 1967 Black Panther Party escort, Sister Betty Shabazz, at the San Francisco airport. There was an armed, and then there was an armed convoy of members to Sacramento. And but before the armed convoy to Sacramento in 1967 in San Francisco, when the party members went to escort Sister Betty Shabazz, there was another group from San Francisco who called themselves Black Panthers. And when they were asked were their weapons armed, because members from Oakland, they arrived with weapons loaded. The San Francisco contingent, they arrived with unloaded weapons. And after that, they were put on notice that they were nothing but paper panthers. They had no intention of providing any real security for Sister Betty Shabazz. After that, because of the situations around that, they disbanded, and the party, as organized by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, was officially recognized by the community as the Black Panther Party. Now, the Black Panther Party, we expanded outside of the Bay Area in 1968. And the first chapter outside of the Bay Area was the Southern California chapter, which was located in Los Angeles, organized in 1967. Now, eventually in Southern California, out of the LA chapter, Al Prentice Bunchy Carter became the Deputy Minister of Defense, and John Jerome Huggins became the Minister of Information. In 1968, the Seattle chapter, organized under Aaron and Elmer Dixon, and that was the first chapter outside of California and on the West Coast. And at the same time that Seattle chapter was organized, they eventually were able to organize a chapter in Portland and Eugene, Oregon. The party spread across the countries. There were a few chapters that did organize during that period also, but they had made contact with Oakland, but they were suspect though. Illinois, based in the Chicago area, was organized under the guidance of Deputy Minister of Defense Bobby Rush, who is now Congressman Bobby Rush, and Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton. So those were the two primary organizers in the Illinois state chapter, and they became one of our stronger chapters in the country. Now, the New York chapter on the East Coast, they organized in the spring of 1968, and they were the first chapter on the East Coast. And from there, by the end of 1968, Boston, New Haven, Philadelphia, and Baltimore chapters had organized at that period of time. Some of the other chapters that have been mentioned during that period across the country, because we found that there were certain inconsistencies in their daily practice, in their operations, and their membership structure, whatever, they did not adhere to the doctrines of the Black Panther Party. They did not follow some of the basic guidelines of the party, so they were eventually shut down at that point. Now, the 10-point program and platform, now that was the structure for many of the ideas of democratic centralism, which flowed through the party, which guided our daily organizational behavior and understanding. And that was a part of the makings of the organizational decisions, and it was a cornerstone of the Black Panther Party development and growth, in our internal development and growth. Now, the basic components of the Black Panther Party, of our guides and our daily guides, this included the 26 rules and regulations which all party members had to know outside of the 10-point program and platform. These included also the 8 points of attention and 3 main rules of discipline and the 11 rules of liberalism. All of these we borrowed from Chairman Mao's work in the Little Red Book. These were all incorporated in terms of behavior guides for party members, in terms of their behavior, in terms of their understanding of how to conduct ourselves individually and within an organizational and a community setting. Now, Huey and Bobby recognized that the struggle of Black people was not isolated from that of other communities. This is one thing that we saw happening mostly among the nationalist groups. There was a separation from what one Black group believed in and what the party was doing. So in order to do that, Huey and Bobby and the party, we formed alliances with Black groups and coalitions with other groups in the other minority communities. And we found that this was necessary to present a united front in the struggle against the tyranny, exploitation, and racism that had been historically present here in this country. And we needed a united effort. It was recognized that a united effort, not just a singular Black power or nationalist effort, was needed in this struggle for complete liberation from the level of Black people to other oppression in other minority communities. And we recognize that the contributions of earlier freedom fighters in America and who were on the American scene and worldwide influenced the methods and thinking of our organizational strategy and tactics, and that the systematic ideology of dialectical materialism, which we talk about a little later in our session on ideology and philosophy, these became the critical methods through which we identified and collaborated with others. And we exemplified and pinpointed our thinking processes, which led to our behaviors. The dialectical materialism was the exhibit. It put the pressure on transferring ideas, applying those ideas and theory into action. And this we saw was exemplified through the 10-point programs and our other participations in the political and social arenas. Also, fallacies, misconceptions, misinformation about our origins. By the time Huey's arrest came about in October 1967, the news media had already found an opening to discredit, to demean, to vilify, and begin to isolate the Black Panther Party. Now, during that particular time, the buzzword was Black militant. Any Black organization that had disagreements with policies, federal policies, in terms of progress and movement, were labeled Black militants. But the party, Black Panther Party, we announced ourselves as a revolutionary political party. And from the beginning, we understood that racism and capitalism, they were the embedded institutions which drive American ideology and the false claims of being a democratic republic. We recognize this. This was at the base. This was the base of our beginning movements and understanding of how we could develop and progress in terms of bringing about a more inclusive understanding and involvement of the community in support of their own well-being. Now, in Huey's case, after his arrest in October of 1967, there was a lot of controversy in terms of his legal team. There was one group or groups in the community that believed that Huey needed a legal representation that were Black. And then because the party did its own investigation and with clarification in conjunction with others, Charles Gary became the head counsel for Huey P. Newton's trial and for several other cases involving members of the party. Now, the news media at that time, with Charles Gary acting as head counsel for the party and for Huey's defense, they fed the lie and they fueled the media with the misinformation that the Black Panther Party, that we were pawns of the Communist Party, simply because Charles Gary and staff were or had been members of the U.S. Communist Party. Now, this image alone was intended to create the image that Blacks could not think and organize, let alone defend themselves, and had to be guided by whites to be the brains behind any Black operations and any Black programs or attempts at progress. As we noted, the Black Panther Party, we made use of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution to demonstrate that Black people had the right to bear arms, and it was constitutional and legal at that time on the streets of California during those early days. And then after the trial of Huey, when Huey went on trial, was being held as prisoner at the Alameda County Courthouse, membership of the party, it jumped exponentially. And we can see that by the increase in chapters, first in Southern California and then around the country. And even though people media and others came up with the news or the idea, the expression during the protests, during the demonstrations at the Alameda County Courthouse, the Free Huey movement, that those demonstrations, those protests, they brought in more party members, brought in more supporters to find out what were the underlying truths behind the imprisonment of Huey, the arrest and trial of Huey P. Newton, and about other ideas in terms of what was leading to further repression against the party. Now, all during this time, new members were coming in. The political process had to be carried out. We had new members that had to be educated through our political education classes, and they had to understand that we had to communicate with the community in terms of raising the consciousness of Black people, not only in terms of the acts against Huey and the misrepresentation heaped on Huey and the Black Panther Party, but they had to understand also the long-going and insistent cases of misrepresentation, of the denigration of Black people in the Black community and other poor and minority people here in this country. And dialectical materialism, again, this was the linchpin in terms of our theoretical work. It was the linchpin in terms of helping us to see, to investigate and to make decisions based on scientific and principled decisions, which will lead us forward as we move further in along the process, the organizing and political process in terms of the educational and more mobilizing process here in the community. But at the beginning, from day one, the beginning, when Huey and Bobby officially launched the committee, along with Little Bobby Hutton, Big Man, the Forte brothers, our enter was always dedicated to the concerns and the needs of the masses. And the political arena, this was another avenue where we were able to access, and we were able to access the mass media because one, their attention was incorrectly placed on the Black Panther Party, but it did help mobilize again and bring people towards the Black Panther Party, generate that interest. And what we'll see later is that what we did at that time was just the beginning. It was the tip of the iceberg of the development and growth of the party. And as we became more entrenched through the high points, the low points, through the understanding and misunderstanding, it never did stop the party from moving in a course that was a leap ahead. It was the next episodical leap ahead of the conditions which other organizations found themselves in, but they did not correctly analyze the conditions and situations that they were in. So, and as we took that leap in terms of our action, even though it was misunderstood by certain segments of our community and across the country, it was understood that we were taking by that next episodical leap. This was something that not only awakened those who had began slumber from the earlier civil rights movement, but recognized then that there was another step that had to be taken in terms of Black people reaching out towards the goals of their self-determination and eventual liberation from the economic, racial, and political oppressions of the country. So that is basically a summary of the section that talks about the origins of the party, our beginnings from the beginning days. Now, Dr. Ned, do you want to add on anything about the origins? Otherwise, I'll go into the original vision, something slight about the original vision of the party. All righty then, Dr. Ned, you want to add?
You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. I think we can go forward, but I just want to mention, hopefully that has generated some questions for discussion. But I thought you had made it pretty clear in the difference and took away a lot of the misnomers without getting really in depth. So let's go forward, in terms of that aspect with the next section, so people can start making that connection on what you just talked about into the period of the original vision. I think that's what you're getting ready to go into.
That's all right, it. Community, y'all get ready for questions, community. After they finish this, we're going to get some questions. So all y'all been listening, if you got questions, you want to ask something, we're going to start getting to that point shortly as we're trying to move through this presentation. But please get ready if you have any questions you would like to ask. Our legacy keepers, please get them ready and start throwing them in the chat. Go to our YouTube, both sides of the conversation, use the live chat, and we'll get those questions up there to today's guest. Thank you.
All right then. Okay, let's look at some of the things that we covered in our presentation of our 5 sections in our module, and let's see what we can add to the previous section and from the origins to the original vision of the party. Now, the original vision of the Black Panther Party was to serve the needs of the oppressed people in our communities and defend them against our oppressors. This did not mean that the Black Panther Party was merely or only some newfound self-defense group or some standing group of community militia. It did not mean that. The concept of self-defense, it transcended any armed presence. We went beyond a mere armed presence because once the 1967 Mulford Act was passed, weapons could no longer be carried on the streets of California. Then we understood that our weapons were merely for protection in our homes and in our facilities. Now, any demands on the ruling class, now as a revolutionary vanguard, we knew that repression would be the most overt repression, would be the most overt form of contradicting our ideas and our behaviors. Now, any demands that we placed on the ruling class, the ruling elite, we knew that this would and it did draw attention and it drew attacks from the local, state, and federal agencies. These were the overt attacks then during this period. Now, now, we knew that the party would survive because it had the love and support of the people who saw their true interests expressed in the actions of the party. And the party would survive because it would be a political vehicle which continued to voice the interests of the people and serve as their advocates in the community. Because we are a structured vehicle, not just a ragtag ad hoc committee of people, but a dedicated cadre through 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We became that type of organization. And because of that commitment, and because of our ideology, because of our understandings of both the conditions and the realities within our communities and how to investigate and explain those conditions and to act on those conditions. This has led to the growth of the party and the interest of the community in our party. Now, the Black Panther Party arose from within the community, a structured revolutionary vehicle, and it was motivated by the objective needs and conditions of the community. So we did not go out there with a wanton, just do anything type of mentality. From the members of the Central Committee through our local memberships in the different cities and chapters, ideas were passed along so that we would gain new ideas in terms of what areas needed assistance, which areas we could look into, which issues we needed to look into, which issues we needed to address. So on that point, the original vision of the party said it didn't end at the point of the time when after Huey was arrested. The party was only expanding at that point, beginning to expand, was only to look past the localized events here in Oakland, and at that point of time. But we did see that there were other things that had to be done in the community. That even though our membership was rising and falling or plateaued at different times, it wasn't based on the number of members that we had. It was based on the number of issues and relevant questions and problems that were existing or being generated in the community. And these were some of the things that were never mentioned or were always glossed over by the news media, and they were never understood by people who inquired about the origins or the vision of the party, or only heard information or bits and pieces of things second and third hand about the party that had nothing to do with the relevant facts of the party. Now, before the Black Panther Party became active, Huey and Bobby had already canvassed the neighborhoods throughout the community to take the pulse of the people and their needs and wants. The resulting 10-point program and platform and the feedback from the community provided Bobby with the vision and the method for first actions. Again, as I pointed out early, which were the armed police patrols. Now, initially with the arrival of the Black Panther Party, with an organized public display of guns to observe police and explain to observers their purpose, it drew the attention, the animosity of the Oakland police. After this, the FBI focus on the Black Panther Party increased. And once the party instituted the Free Breakfast Program in 1969, and the Free Huey movement exploded to draw in new members and attract the support of people from the different communities, that scrutiny of the FBI on behalf of the FBI, state, and local officials, not only against community members of the party, but those who supported the party. That type of scrutiny and that type of harassment also increased. And the Black Panther Party grew out of a period when other Black organizations believed that mass public demonstrations and appeals to the conscience of American political powers would improve the conditions of Black and poor people. But Huey and Bobby recognized that the American powers that be, they did not intend to act in any benevolent manner to correct the economic, social, and political oppression and exploitation of Black and poor people. This became self-evident, particularly after the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King and one of their own, Senator John Kennedy. Now, in the face of powers that would not and could not act in the interests of Black and poor people, new visions, strategies, and tactics were necessary to begin the process of transforming the historical obstacles that prevented Black and poor people from achieving self-determination and liberation from the economic, racial, and political oppressions of the American capitalist exploitation and its institutional structures. The party arrived as a vanguard in a protracted struggle. One generation, from an early generation of Blacks standing and being in the front of activities up to the present. And we arrived with a correct examination and analysis of the conditions of the times, and we were the only organization that viewed the struggles of Black people through a critical scientific lens, and we were able to synthesize our analysis and examination so that we were able to adjust our behaviors and programs, projects, interactions to motivate, to not only educate, but organize and mobilize. Now, we existed through our dedicated cadres. We organized through the cities across the country. We reached the members of the communities, and some responded by becoming members of the party. Now, we understood that the basic economic and political reforms were only band-aids that temporarily covered the endemic and systematic causes of exploitation and racism. And we understood that American society needed a qualitative transformation in the ideology and institutions that will provide for the rights and needs of people, and the masses had to be a part of that process. No organization could transform the existing state of the American economic political force. It had to be a mass qualitative transformation in the thinking, the consciousness of the Black and poor communities. We recognize also that organizational differences and resulting conflicts had developed on one hand due to misunderstanding and conflicts and disagreements at the ideological, strategic, and tactical levels. And sometimes those differences, they were antagonistic, and at other times we found that they were antagonistic and deadly. Now, non-antagonistic differences that the party had with different groups, they were resolved through dialogue and discussion. Now, the antagonistic contradictions, they were mostly against the position of the BPP, as we were often instigated. They were often instigated from the FBI, Justice Department, which worked in collaboration with state and local affiliates, the local police, the county agencies, and those who reached that highest level of incompetence. They knew that they could not work peacefully with allowing Black people to move forward, Black and poor people to move forward. They had to demonstrate that we were at fault. They had to show that we were wrong, we were incorrect, that we were in fact a criminal element that had no right to speak on behalf of the masses of American people. Now, as long as the needs for decent education, full employment, health, medical care, and treatments towards the deplorable housing conditions, equal and equitable legal treatments, and the ability to determine the destinies of our communities, what economic and political personnel and institutions should be there to bring about the best quality growth and development in the community. As long as those are not addressed and they're acted on so that the masses of people are not able to enjoy the wealth accumulated from American exploitation and expansion, then the visions of the Black Panther Party, they will continue to be relevant and they'll continue to be necessary. So with that, I'm going to hold it right there on the first two sections of the module, and we can open up for discussion, questions, or whatever's on the table.
Man, powerful stuff. Thank you all for coming on and getting that information out there, community. If you have some questions, I got a few questions, but I want to see if Brittany, you have any questions to start off before I go, because I got a lot of questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Well, for starters, thank you for all of this wonderful knowledge. There was so much I did not know. I know I want to hear a little bit more. You briefly spoke about, the role San Francisco played. You briefly spoke about like a club starting in San Francisco, and I was just wondering, was there any, did San Francisco play any role in the history of the Black Panther Party? It was like you briefly spoke about something, and then it kind of like you spoke over it. And I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly in what you said.
I'll do one part, and then Saturo can come in and finish up the other part. In early '67, while the party had organized in Oakland, there were others in San Francisco who called themselves Black Panther Party. And when the notice went out for security for Betty Shabazz, this group responded also. And Huey and Bobby were aware of this, and they were wanted to see what this group was going to do in terms of providing armed security. And what happened, the party was already prepared to offer armed security. These knuckleheads show up with empty weapons. These knuckleheads
that's what I heard.
With empty weapons.
That's what I heard.
After a little bit, a little bit more conversation down the line, they disappeared from the scene, and Huey, Bobby, and the rest of that was it became incidents recorded through the news media. That was Huey and Bobby and the armed contingent from Oakland that did provide the security for Sister Betty Shabazz while she was visiting San Francisco. And then later, out of that, part of that did lead to the opening of the San Francisco branch office in San Francisco.
Okay, I thought I heard that, but I just had to make sure and get that question off of my list. Now, you spoke about a lot of programs, and that's one thing that I know so much about the Black Panther is the innovative programs that they introduced to the community. And actually, one person posted the question, which was one of my questions, was about the breakfast program and why was it feared so much? And then there's so many programs happening out here throughout the communities in Oakland, throughout San Francisco. And I just wanted to know if you saw a replication of any of Black Panther's program. Are you still seeing the work that you all implemented back in the day? Do you still see that in the communities today? So that's like a two-part.
Yeah. Well, actually, part 3 of this of our module, it goes to the community survival programs. Yeah. So that's what we can get into next. But Dr. Ned, if you want to jump on it first to give them a little head start.
Yeah. First of all, I want to continue on about San Francisco. San Francisco had one.
Y'all know we crazy over here in San Francisco. Y'all know we a little different.
No. That was the early days. There was a vibrant chapter. Our field marshal, D.C. Cox, who was that responsible person when the party started growing, because we stopped and had a moratorium unless you were chartered with chapters and branches. Everybody's saying his responsibility was to go nationwide and to make sure that they were adhering to all the early rules and regulations of the party. And a lot of them were shut down and reorganized. No San Francisco distribution. Sam Napier, who the idea where it came to circulate to educate. That's where that saying came from. That's where distribution was on Fillmore, where the Oshis, that sign is where the Black Panther Party was. San Francisco, you have people like the Dexter Woods, the Woods family, the list goes on. And they were embedded in Double Rock, in the various community, Hunters Point, in the community centers and areas where in the morning, the kids in those areas would come and have a hot breakfast. And then they would get a bag lunch to take to school. And then they would bring truckloads of food into the community. But we always would say, doing an act or giving something away without education of the knowledge of why are we doing this? Why am I giving you? Well, here's the issue. Here's the problem. This is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it, so that we can come together and make this happen consistently for ourselves. So it was an ongoing educational aspect. And the reason why they talked about the breakfast program, hey, why don't they feed us at school? Well, I'm happy you asked. John's laughing. The reason why they're not feeding you at school is obviously, do you think they care about you? No, they don't care about us. And after they started eating, the kids would come and say stuff like, you know, when we were talking yesterday about Black people and what Black people did, I went to school and my teacher said I was disrupting the class and sent me to the principal's office. They would bring the truth to the fact. So because it was the Black Panther Party,
Again, when Professor Steve mentioned how they would twist and turn, almost 80% of the articles written about us by the New York Times, anyone, television, CBS, all of them were written by FBI and federal agents to give to the news people. There were a few brave journalists who would tell the truth, but for the most part, it was tainted their way. So it was dangerous. They want to make it dangerous because they tried to say that we were turning them into young revolutionaries because they would question their education. And of course, you know what that led to. It led to problems with our kids getting kicked out because they were saying Black people did have a part in history. We did this because we would start teaching them at the breakfast. So the parents would get involved. They go down to school, be a whole number. So that was the reason why. To J. Edgar Hoover, he wanted to paint it like we're in there. Okay, kids. All right, you finished eating? Let's have a gun class. We're going to show y'all how to sneak out at night and kill Whitey. This is what the message that the FBI and these people were promoting to what we call suburban America in the mainstream. He could not say, oh, they were doing great things. It destroyed his whole premise of what they called a Black Messiah. And I want you guys to understand that everybody in the party was a leader. You're a leader. He's a leader. Everybody, if somebody got arrested, you might be selling newspapers, but all of a sudden, you're now the deputy minister of defense of that whole area, and you would hold a press conference. And guess what? Community workers, and just like Professor Steve was talking about, it would only bring more people. Oh, you arrested and messed up their office? The community come, fix up stuff. We had people come and bring new windows in, new furniture, and they would come and start. All they did was swell the ranks of community workers, of people from the community. That's why they said that about everything they did. And remember, they did not want to recognize that we created the breakfast. They tried to say the USDA administration did. They were discredited. Anything we did, they didn't want to give us credit. Sickle cell anemia, Richard Nixon gave tens of millions, but he hated us and he hated the Black family. Why? They did not want to give the Black Panther Party any credit.
Wow, powerful stuff. I'm glad you're talking about credit because I'm talking about future. And I think that's the biggest issue that we have in the Black community right now, especially with our Black organizations not working together and everybody worried about credit, right? And I think this is where both sides of the conversation, I know Wise Health, like we about the people, right? I don't care about accolades, followers, and views. Like right now, we are in a crisis in Black America. Yes. And it's interesting that the things that you guys organized and structured 55 years ago are the leading issues in our Black community right now. Yeah. And it's sad because some of our own Black folks don't understand how to work together and help each other. You know what I mean? So I'm like really trying to collaborate and work with other people who really about the people. I don't care about followers. I don't care about likes. I don't care who get the credit. At the end of the day, was the people impacted? That's what I'm really worried about, right? So when I'm doing these conversations with folks and folks that say they want to have impact, I'm like, what's your main driving point, right? Because I don't care who gets the recognition or who name goes first or who gets the first hashtag and like, you know what I mean? I don't got time for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to impact my people. We have a crisis right now in this country with homelessness. And when we're talking about food, and I think one of the other things that our people forget about that it was very instrumental with the food to see these governments and these folks who understand if our kids are going to school hungry, they can't learn, right? So they have a disadvantage, right? And there's been so many angles to keep our young people from excelling, right? And food is a big part of it, right? If we're going to school hungry, you can't pay attention as much, right? And that's why these programs are so important. And I see East Oakland Collective in there, and that's why we're doing a collaboration work with them because, see, I believe in that. You impact the people, right? And it's through these type of organizations who are feeding our people, blessing our people, organizing, and trying to get our people to come together. And that's what we're going to do here is continue to organize, work with people. It's sad that even 55 years later, as Black folks, we can't get our act together. And that's what we're going to keep pushing. And we like you all mottos and the stuff that you're doing, but we got to really start honing in on that. And I hope you all in your programming that you're putting together, some of the concepts is really educating our community about reciprocity and what that really looks like. You get what I'm saying? Because again, we're falling back, right? And I'm gonna give you a perfect example real quick before I pass it on is, this situation that take place with Frank Somerville at KTVU, right?
Yeah.
Now these black folks, the NAACP of Oakland, all these folks, they done came together and raised almost $200,000 and more. Boycott KTVU. You know what I'm saying? But again, we got both sides of the conversation here, right? I can't get people to donate $5, and we could talk about black issues every week on this platform if they wanted to, right? But again, I'm like, how do we shift this model? How do we support each other? We go out in the community, we support everybody, we support our black businesses, but we don't get it back. We don't get the same love back, right? And I'm like, how do we fix that, right? I know we talk about trust, and I know we got traumatic things that have impacted us in the community, but I'm talking about 55 years now moving forward. How do we get there? How do we get our black folks to start organizing with each other? How do we get them to start working with each other? And how do we get them to really start empowering our community? Those are the things that I want to know. And you know, because you guys, like you said, there was up and downs, and you know, you try to do the right thing. So it's definitely a blessing to see, you know, through those struggles that y'all was able to succeed and keep pushing through. But some of our people out there, man, I just got to shake my head and say, I don't know where we going. I'm going to continue to do my part to continue to unify our communities. But boy, we got some work to do. Our people got some real work to do.
Okay. Yep. All right, now I'm going to briefly cover the last three sections of the module, and that'll open the door for any final questions and discussion that we had. But I'll go back to what the question about the free breakfast program. Many people said, well, I've heard about the free breakfast program. Oh, yes. And I heard that you all had clinics and did some sickle cell screening. But those were only a few of the programs, some of the early programs of the party. Now, here are some others that people didn't even know the Black Panther Party had initiated either in California or nationwide. We expanded our breakfast program. That became a free food program and a food cooperative program. But before the breakfast programs or the food programs came along, the first survival program of the party was our newspaper. The Black Panther Black Community News Service was established in 1967. That was the first official program of the party. And that was based on what Huey had told the early membership. He said the newspaper is the voice of the people, and the voice of the Panther had to be heard throughout the land. This is what made it important for us to make that connection between to the community from the party, so they could actually see the news presented through our focus here, which did investigate and analyze the conditions and reality which existed in and around the community, which often contradicted the news media reports coming out of the established newspaper. So the newspaper actually was the first program. Then the breakfast program and the other survival programs grew from there because of the necessity and need in the community. So not only were the food cooperative programs there, but there was an employment program, free employment program, a free shoe program, clothing program. There was a people's free legal aid and educational program, busing to prison programs, particularly in Seattle and Chicago, LA, and other chapters. There's a commissary for prisoners program, a free busing to prison programs. Then there was of course, Oakland Community School, which became a model for elementary school education, and it was the only elementary school in California to receive an official commendation from the California legislature in 1977, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we also had a free pest control program. We had a free plumbing and maintenance program, and we had a child development center which nurtured our children until they were able to enter the Oakland Community School. And then we had the SAFE program, the Seniors Against the Fearful and Against the Fearful Environment. This program provided transportation and escort service for senior citizens to and from the banks, provided transportation and services to events, community events, and so that those seniors who were isolated would be able to participate more independently as functional citizens or as participative citizens in their communities, even at that senior stage of their lives. So these are just some of the more than 60 documented programs of the party that function, if not here in California, but also around the country. And many of those programs, after the time of the Black Panther Party presence had receded, these were the programs that became taken over, co-opted by other state county agencies. And among those, I mentioned the SAFE program, Seniors Against a Fearful Environment, the transportation that we provided to senior citizens. That program has been co-opted, and that has become your paratransit program that we see up and down California and around the country today.
And John, I wanted to you asked that question very quickly. We could talk about that all day long. I want you to think in this manner. When we saw an issue and a problem, our first breakfast program was at 27th and West. It's now Baptist Church there. It used to be St. Augustine's we had a spiritual advisor, Father Earl Neal, and now he's in South Africa, has been working with Bishop Tutu for decades. But we started off with a handful of kids. I think it was 9 children. And by the time it was announced by Jesse Unruh, the Attorney General in Sacramento, the Black Panther Party is feeding upward to 100,000 kids nationwide, and it's growing every week. Where's the government? So, excuse me, the point I'm making is this. It's that you're already on the right track. And here's the advantage, that what we did it. And people say, what about the mistakes? We didn't know there were mistakes then. There was no blueprint. So this is what we're telling you, and I'm telling you this like I told you before. Our goal, and we say this, I jokingly say the same thing. Oh, they're giving all this money away to people that you know that's not going to really make an impact, but they don't want to do it. Well, think about this. They know the impact you're going to make, and that's why they're not giving it to you. So for us, I want to tell you guys right now, we as elders are your covering. You know, people always going to tell you, that's your opinion. Well, I have somebody I need you to talk to, Dr. Saturo Ned. By the time myself, Professor Steve, and other members, you know, we deal with, like I told you, documentation, experience, and knowledge that we created. So if you want to argue with us, all you're doing is exposing yourself that you really don't want to engage in making change. So you start weeding them out. But it starts with what you're doing now. First of all, you're aware that we got some people out here. And let's go back to the fact that we tell people, the people that infiltrated the Black Panther Party look like you and me. I would get this silence. Can we move forward? So we know we got people, we're seeing more and more people. We've never seen this many Republicans stand, Black Republicans. I never seen it. Where they get them from? They paying them? They come on. What's that one young lady's name you want to choke? You know, the young girl I'm talking about. You guys know who I'm talking about.
Candace Owens.
Oh, there you go. I knew you know. She's an example of real idiocracy. And there's several others that go on. But the point I'm making is simply this. They are aware of who you, when they don't support you, this is part of the ideology you realize, because you are bringing the truth and correctness, and especially if it's rooted in stuff that you know that's happened before or people who've done it, and you're bringing that to the table in everything you do. They're not. So this is why we are going to embark. John, I hear you. This is what the network is about. Our responsibility, and I don't bite my tongue, just like Sister Elaine is doing. Look, you give it to us. We got the people that need it because they're doing the things. This network is essential in becoming the premier network. Beyond all that other BS we see out there, sometimes you watch them for 3 minutes and you get sick. It's just like them, the survival programs, and he started. And Professor Steve only. There's a whole bunch more people like, wow, we didn't know all this. He only tapped on about 10 of the others. So it's the same thing here. Do not lose your faith. Do not use. We're here with you. Like I told you, this coming time in this year, we're going to be working very closely together, and we're going to make a lot of things happen. And it starts like this. Remember the old saying, I look to the hills, from whence comes my help? People start plugging in. I want to be with you guys. I want to do this. But this is a big dilemma. In Philly, just so you know, one of our members, Sultan, Brother Big Herm, they have an initiative that he's been working on back there with the city. They have $600 million. And guess what? It's not going from here to there and you're standing there. Where is it? It's going directly to people like this network or community groups that were out there supporting like the collective. They're getting the money. They're getting checked. So guess what? We're going to make it happen. Even if you don't, we will make the work. We'll let everybody know. We talked about embarrassing them. We will embark upon it ourselves. And then when we hold press conferences or events, we'll tell people, well, they don't want to support this. The community loves it. So we're going to make it happen ourselves and watch things begin to change. Even out of embarrassment, they reluctantly do things that we know they are. But that's why with the community, when they fade away, that support is always going to be there. So I just wanted to let you know.
Phenomenal stuff. I needed to hear that. So I guess I know why I ain't getting no funding. Y'all need the impact we have here at both sides of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know we doing the work. We in them streets.
You doing the work.
Before I give it to Brittany, just want to thank you all as we getting close to end of today's segment. And that's why I'm so privileged to have Miss Brittany here with us with Wise Health. She's really bringing those health conversations and topics to our community, really trying to educate our people about different health things that are impacting our people, because we're so lost into the pandemic and what's going on, and there's other health needs and issues that's impacting our community. And I'm just happy to have Brittany and the work that she's doing and in the future doing more stuff to really educate our community and have those difficult conversations about our health, because it's a big deal in our community. And then, continuing to do the work with organizations like East Oakland Collective and different organizations that's really out there about the people. We're just looking forward and honored to it. And for all y'all that do want to support both sides of the conversation, we got a major skate event where we're bringing San Francisco and Oakland together on November 13th. And we're going to be looking for y'all that really want to see the impact, support. We'll put out some information. We need some financial support and help to make this happen. And we want our families and our kids to come out there for free and have a great experience and not have to worry about anything and just come out and convene with community. So I'm looking forward to that, but we'll get that out there. But Brittany, go ahead. I know you had a couple of comments, and then we'll pass it around for everybody on here to give some parting words to the community and what it's going to look like 55 years moving forward, what we're going to do for the people of the community.
Well, yeah, I can save my comments for the closeout. I just didn't know if, actually, we were just talking about the programs, and I know we're moving past the programs, but there was so many things that I heard and what the professor was saying, and I can see how a lot of the work that has been done in the past is still, was replicated and is still present today. And so it's interesting when you talked about the senior transportation program being, equivalent to paratransit. But I also know that, like you said before, like the WIC program, I also heard the First Five program was replicated off of your pre-K program that you were talking about, and then just the food bank, all very necessary sources for our community. And so I just wanted to call that out. If nobody else was able to hear those nuggets, paratransit, WIC, First Five, and the food bank, 4 resources that we use very, very often every day. Right. And so I just wanted, you can go ahead and take it back, John. I just wanted to put that out there. And then I'll just think everything else for the closing.
I just want to quickly, they can see all the programs, go on the website, and they can see all 65 of the programs actually.
All right, community, there you go. If you want to know more how to impact your community, look at some of the points that they put together and some of the other programming, go to their website. The information is up on the screen so we can start moving our community right now. But with this crisis in our country, we need to start organizing. We need to start moving together. Okay, we're trying to work collaboratively. We don't want to be competing. There's too much competing going on. We need to work with each other, build up the community. All my gatekeepers out there, all y'all elite elite gatekeepers out there. It is time to open up the gate so that our people could get some support and some love. And we're going to do our part with the legacy keepers and our fellow community organizations that are willing to work together to move forward. There's a number of issues that are impacting our community, and we need the support now. We always talk about the rainy day. Right now in America, the rainy day is happening right now for our Black people. Look at the homelessness on our streets. Look at the substance abuse. Look at what's going on in our community. Our elders are afraid to go to the store because of the violence. Men of the community, I'm calling you out. Let's go. Let's organize. Let's get together. Let's take our community back and let's impact our people. With that being said, I want to give everybody an opportunity to close out with some parting words today. Because we got a lot of work and we're gonna stop talking and get to action. It is action time. So I'm looking forward for my community folks to work together and let's start doing our thing. But with that being said, Professor, if you want to go ahead and get some closing words to the community and what you think we need to start preparing for the next 55 years, that'll be a definite thank you. And then we'll move along to CBO and Dr. Saturo.
From that through the eyes of the party, walking in our shoes. One thing that we continue to mention over the years as we are invited speaking opportunities or opportunities to collaborate with others, we recognize that these ideas must be shared as part of the educational and organizational process, the mobilizing process, but not for simply the fact of conversation, not simply for the fact of entertaining and enlightening audiences with what we have to say. We'll continue to stress the idea that what we say has to be transformed into action, that the ideas, that the words that were expressed by the party and through the Alumni Legacy Network, these ought to be continued as models in the community to continue building towards institutions and towards that mobilizing and organizing necessary to truly transform the community so that there is community control at all the institutional levels, and that people can move on, transform the quality of their lives so that people do have full control over their destinies in the community in all areas, from housing, education, in the medical industry, at the have that relief at the legal levels here, and are able to exercise the rights that they have that are allowed, and to be able to transform what is not being done in the best interest and in the service of the communities, and in the best interest of those who are still oppressed by the economic exploitation, the racial separations and divisions, and by the political inconsistencies of the ruling elites in the government of the United States, and its monopoly, impression, and reach and influence around the world.
Man, very powerful stuff. Thank you for saying that, Professor. I agree 100% with you. I'm tired of these Black folks talking about hope and what we can do, and we gonna see what they gonna do. I want some action. I'm telling people we want to take our equity. I'm tired of people sitting back talking about, we hope they gonna give us an opportunity and we gonna see. No, I want us to come together. Let's go take our equity. So I really appreciate you highlighting that. I definitely think that's what it is. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of good intent. I think people have great intentions, but they ain't following through with the action. We need people to start acting and moving, and I really appreciate you giving that back to the people right there. Real talk from the Professor. And CBO, give the people some final words and give them some close out. CBO. Uh-oh, I think a CBO froze on us.
Oh, he did?
He frozen. All right, we'll get him back. Dr. Saturo, go ahead and is that, wait, I think he's coming back. Let me see. Is he there? Is he back? CBO, I see you moving. Are you there? Unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, power to the people.
All power to the people. You got unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Go ahead. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Mike Tech, can you hear me? Yeah, I wanted
we
to
hear
say
you.
that another prominent program of the Black Panthers was the George Jackson Medical Clinic, which is the equivalent to like the free medical clinics, like the one that used to be on 82nd and MacArthur in East Oakland. And I think one of the ways that the Black Panther Party made a bridge with the community is that a lot of its offices were set up in the heart of the community, like the central headquarters on Peralta and West Oakland, or the office by Grove Street, or the St. Augustine Church. All of those was right in the heart of the Black community, and that's one way where they connected with the community. But I want to remind everybody, October is Black Panther Party History Month, and on Sunday they'll be putting up the UEP Newton statue on UEP Newton Way in West Oakland, and on Friday the 22nd, you could come out to the Boathouse, the Bayview Opera House in San Francisco. And it's going to be our event from 11 to 4. So we're inviting the community to come out to celebrate with the Alumni Network. And remember to go to the website, bppaln.org. And you can also buy some Black Panther Party merchandise from ap2tp.bigcartel.com. And we're also inviting people out to come out on Sunday to the Brooklyn Basin, where we'll be honoring Dr. Satoru Ned and the Lumping and Melvin Newton. So, power to the people.
All power to the people. Very powerful stuff. The website is up on the screen. Community, go in there, donate, support. You want some of that nice Black Panther gear. You want some of these nice shirts. You want some of that nice, good Oakland 1969 merchandise.
I know I do.
Excited, check it
Well,
out.
you know what, and I'm going to say this. It's part of a fundraiser with the dinner. The shirt and what have you. But this is what we're telling everybody, because there is a certain capacity. If you really want to come, and we'll work it out for that event on Sunday. It's actually the San Francisco event. We want all of San Francisco to turn out on that Friday, and on Sunday we want everybody to turn out because it's going to be a great event, and it's the beginning actually of what we call the Lumpin Community Service Awards. If you don't know about the singing group, just go on and on Google the name Lumpin of the Black Panther Party, LUMPE, and the singing group of the Black, and it'll all come up. But every year we're going to create the Lumpin Community Service Awards, where we'll be honoring people who are doing work in the community, like John and others who are putting their heart and soul into it, in the tradition and the legacy of the Black Panther Party. So listen, everybody, remember all the things that were said here today, that we aren't going anywhere. We are here for a reason and for a purpose. It's not by accident or coincidence. You have an opportunity to work alongside original Black Panther Party members, as well as people in this network like John and everyone else who's part of this group and beyond, who are really passionate about our community. We weren't Panthers who were in there for 2 days or a month and said we went to a rally. Most of us that myself and Professor Steve average about 14 years of the 16 years. So we have that perspective, and we put together what we did and played an integral part and did what was necessary. There was no ego, as John said. There was no, I want this. We did it out of the love of the people, as we said, serving the people body. So consider this. We're now farmers again. Everybody has a chance to join us and fertilize that new crop. And that new crop is just like we started before, with our children. We got to cut our losses. We know where we've got to invest in. And that's why it's so difficult for us to work with our children and educate them. They saw the example of what the Black Panther Party did before, and they make a note of that and don't want it to happen again. So I just want to end by saying thank you so much. Let this be the beginning for those of you who are out there listening. Let this be the lesson to understand and lose that hopelessness and say, I want to be part of this whole concept, and I'm coming, because we have no choice. There's nothing there for us. It's either do or just roll over and accept what is here for us, or make those changes using knowledge of what was done before and therefore we can all come together and make things happen as a collaborative, as a people. Thank you so much.
Man, very powerful stuff. And I definitely want the Black farmers to come on our platform and educate our community. So in our backyards and the little spaces that we do have, we can start growing food in our community centers. When we beautify in our communities, we can utilize some of that land to create our own food. As you all know, okay, with the increase of inflation and GDP right now, the cost of the grocery store, it is amazing how much it costs now to shop. So we got to really get back into creating our own food, our own vegetables, and growing our own stuff. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if they keep going up on the prices, I'm gonna lose weight fast. Because I ain't spending $13 for a pack of turkey bacon no more.
Hey, you know, there's land all over. There's land all over America. We've been losing it. So let's get some of that land and grow it. We can transport it ourselves. Another thought. I
want them smart. I want them smart young people that y'all teaching over there. I want them to teach me how to make me some chickens and turkeys in my yard, so I can go and cook my own. I'm gonna cut them up and do it myself. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and let Miss Brittany, as she does every week so eloquently, wrap up today's shows with a call to action, and do what she do so great here at Both Sides of the Conversation. Miss Brittany, go ahead and give us our call.
All right. I once again want to just thank the panelists for coming today. It was very, very inspiring. Just learning so much information about our history here in the Bay Area. One thing that stood out to me the most was the constant call for continuous community collaboration. That nobody can do this work alone. And I know that on this show, we talk a lot about community accountability and the importance for everyone playing a role in progressing equity in our communities. And so from what I've been hearing today, the Black Panther Party already made the blueprint for us. So we just need to continue what's already been created in the past. And so I'm hearing an increase in senior housing, which we already know, especially here in San Francisco. Our seniors need safe, affordable places to live. The continuance of the feeds. Now that's one thing that we do. We have our produce distribution down pat. A lot of cities may do community feeds, but being able to use those feeds and those produce distributions as a tool to reach our isolated people. So what that means is scaling up your bags to put information in it, resources, information about how to grow your own produce, provide people with the seeds, but actually using that produce bag that people come and pick up, or the bag that we're sending out to our isolated, as a tool to build the capacity of others. Also, there's a lot of talk around economic empowerment. And then the innovation behind STEM programs. I know that we've been, incorporating STEM programs in the community for years. And so, there's always room for innovation, always room for something more. So just making sure that we're keeping our youngins' minds going and, trying out new things and exploring new options. And then lastly, something that, we always talk about the importance of, but increasing access to health and ensuring that we're providing free checkups in the community. And it came up slightly, but prenatal care, I heard that as well, increasing access to prenatal care. So, once again, the call of action is just keep on doing what we're doing, build capacity. The blueprint has already been made from us. Once again, thank you to our panelists. Very grateful to have the opportunity to meet you and to talk with you today. Thank you.
Man, thank you very much. Very powerful stuff, everybody. As you all see, we're going to continue to do our part here at Both Sides of the Conversation to work with our organizations, work with our people, bring this information and education awareness to our platform, to the community, because that's what it's about. We can't empower the community if we don't educate them, if we don't give them the resources and information so that they can have that access. You can't lead the community. If you don't feed the community, you got to give them love, you got to give them food, you got to give them education and information. That's what the Black Panther Party Legacy Network is doing. That's what we're doing here at Both Sides of the Conversation. All we want to do is bless our people, connect our people, and make sure that they get the resources to all of the people who are funding the property pimps of their community. If you really want to see impact, you got some people that can impact the community, to the people that's holding up the progression of our people and our community. We need them to listen, and we're not enabling their behavior no more. It is time to pass the torch. If you are one of those divisive leaders, if you're one of those elders in the community who are not moving us forward, and you're not passing the information and trying to uplift and build what's going on. We got to move y'all out the way, and I'm gonna keep calling them out. I'm not gonna sit here. If you holding our community back, we're gonna push you out the way. We're gonna roll you on, because again, we are trying to progress our people in our communities, and like Brittany said, on all levels that are needed in our community that we are impacted with. So I just want to say phenomenal stuff. All power to the people. Thank you all for tuning in today as we continue all month, celebrate our 55th anniversary of the Black Panther Party and the continued work that they're doing for the next 55 years on and beyond to the next generation. This is what it's all about. It starts with us. We have to be the change. We have to be the ones out in the community doing the work, supporting each other, uplifting the community, and making sure our young folks and our elders of the community get the services and the resources that they need so that they can navigate our cities and our communities safely and freely. So looking forward to continue to work with you all. With that being said, next Sunday, we're going to have another powerful conversation next Sunday. We are talking about domestic violence. And we're going to talk about some of the issues and the things that's happening during this pandemic. It has been an increase, especially in the Black and brown community, of domestic violence in our homes. It is translating to our young people. There's a number of cases that have happened around our cities where young people watching this domestic violence in their home and transition and bringing it into our schools and into our communities and into these young folks' relationships. So we're going to be talking about that this Sunday as well. And then this Tuesday, we're going to have another segment of our hidden gems where we will continue to highlight our Black and brown businesses, as well as those community leaders that are doing positive things to impact our community. Another opportunity for you to find some other folks in your community that are doing things so that you could get connected. Because like they said today, we can't wait no more. I don't want to hear people talking about, I don't know how to connect. I don't know how to volunteer. I don't know how to get involved. Continue to watch these shows. There are a number of organizations that are coming on and educating the community of what they're doing, and they all need help and support. So I don't want to hear the excuse of how do I support. You can support many, many ways, and you can always support with financial sponsorship, because we all need support to continue to do this work, especially here at both sides of the conversation. We want to keep this platform free. We want to keep it accessible for our community. But again, there is cost that associated with it. And John Henry little pockets is getting real small because I'm spending all my money out of my pocket to make sure my people is good. And, we got to do something about that. So I need some support. So all y'all that love the impact and want to impact, please go ahead and support us as we will be doing it. And again, on November 13th, we'll be having a skate party in East Oakland with East Oakland Collective. We're going to have both sides of the bay coming together in a family unit skate day, and we'll be getting that information out to the community soon. And then on November 20th, we'll be a part of the Feed the Hood in Oakland event. This is a powerful event. We're going to bless the people. We'll be out there. You'll see us, and we got a number of other events coming up that we'll be a part of, and some amazing partnerships that we're going to be collaborating to help impact our community in other ways. So I am excited of the things that are coming down the pipeline. Miss Brittany, it's going to be some good things. We got some things with Wise Health that we're going to be doing and bringing some powerful conversations about health around here, because you all know Wise Health is a pillar in our community when it comes to educating our people and making sure that we get that health information and knowledge. So I'm excited. Community, there's some amazing things coming here at both sides of the conversation. Stay tuned in. Go to our YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on the alert notification. Check out our social media handles. That's where the information is. You want to go on Instagram, you want to see where we're at, you got to check out our social media handles. That's where we post all the information. And if you would like to have us at an event, please reach out to us. I'll be there, and we can negotiate and figure out how to get there, because we try to do everything we can to make sure that we impact our community here at both sides of the conversation. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you this Tuesday for our next live show of our Hidden Gems. Looking forward to seeing you all. Have a blessed evening. Be safe. Figure out how you're going to impact the community today. Reach out to the Black Panther Party Legacy Keepers. Reach out to us here at both sides of the conversation. We need all the love and all of the support from the people.
All right.
All right.
All right.